I put instant coffee in a microwave oven and almost went back in time. There's a fine line between fishing and just standing on the shore like an idiot. Whenever I think of the past, it brings back so many memories. If you think nobody cares about you, try missing a couple of payments. Curiosity killed the cat, but for a while I was a suspect. Sponges grow in the ocean. That just kills me. I wonder how much deeper the ocean would be if that didn't happen. It seems like we wake up and it's a race until you get to bed. It gets to you after a while and you think, what the hell am I doing? Only 1 in 4 jokes ever works, and I still can't predict what people will laugh at. People may think I'm trying something new by telling stories, but they're just jokes connected to give the illusion of stories. But really, I just continue using my imagination and creating. That's what I do. I bought some instant water one time, but I didn't know what to add to it. My secret to staying young: having no sense of time. It's very interesting, the joke comes first and then the wording comes within 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. My thing is to get the joke across in as few words as possible. However, sometimes a word that's not really needed does help the rhythm of it. It's a gut feeling. I wear a hat on stage so that people won't be blinded by the reflection from my head. Also, if I don't wear a hat, there's no way that the hat can be at that level by itself on the stage. Women can't live with them. Can't shoot them. I look like a casual, laid-back guy, but it's like a circus in my head. When I was crossing the border into Canada, they asked if I had any firearms with me. I said, well, what do you need? On the other hand, you have different fingers. I remember when the candle shop burned down. Everyone stood around singing Happy Birthday. I live on a one-way street that's also a dead end. I'm not sure how I got there. I saw a bank that said 24-hour banking, but I don't have that much time. A lot of people are afraid of heights. Not me, I'm afraid of widths. My theory of evolution is that Darwin was adopted. I saw a subliminal advertising executive, but only for a second. If Barbie is so popular, why do you have to buy her friends? My mother is from another time. The funniest person to her is Lucille Ball, that's what she loves. A lot of times she tells me she doesn't know what I'm talking about. I know if I wasn't her son and she was flipping through the TV and saw me, she would just keep going. When I woke up this morning, my girlfriend asked me, "Did you sleep good?" I said, "No, I made a few mistakes." When I was a little kid, we had a sandbox. It was a quicksand box. I was an only child, eventually. I like to reminisce with people I don't know. All those who believe in psychokinesis, raise my hand. I just got out of the hospital. I was in a speed reading accident. I hit a bookmark. It usually helps me write by reading. Somehow the reading gear in your head turns the writing gear. I love eating chocolate cake and ice cream after a show. I almost justify it in my mind as, you were a good boy on stage and you did your show, so now you can have some cake and ice cream. In a lot of ways, success is much harder than I thought it would be. I figured that you'd get here and then everything would be happily ever after. But, it's hard work, almost harder once you're successful because you've got to maintain it. If you saw a heat wave, would you wave back? I went to the bank and asked to borrow a cup of money. They said, "What for?" I said, "I'm going to buy some sugar." I'm standing behind a wall of jokes. You don't know about my personal life, my girlfriends, or what I do when I'm not on the road. There's this guy, this comedian, and this is how he thinks, but people really don't know anything about me. My favorite book is anything by Kurt Vonnegut. He's my literary hero. I got to meet him several times, which was a great thrill for me. I don't really remember what we talked about. There's something about being in front of a live audience that's fun. It's a really interesting, very electric, very alive, and intense experience, and you can't get it anywhere else. And I've been doing it since I was 23, so it's part of my being, it's part of my fabric as a person. If a word in the dictionary were misspelled, how would we know? I went to the museum where they had all the heads and arms from the statues that are in all the other museums. I liked school, but I used to dread those moments when the teacher would call me up to give an oral report. I forced myself to deal with it and not dwell on the class in front of me, to keep a straight face, give the report and concentrate on getting it right. That's normally how I perform. That's how I am. For my birthday I got a humidifier and a dehumidifier. I put them in the same room and let them fight it out. If at first you don't succeed, then skydiving definitely isn't for you. It doesn't matter what temperature the room is, it's always room temperature. I had to stop driving my car for a while, the tires got dizzy. Sometimes I wish my first word was, quote, so that on my deathbed, my last words could be, end quote. Everywhere is within walking distance if you have the time. I think it's wrong that only one company makes the game Monopoly. Someone asked me, if I were stranded on a desert island, what book would I bring? How to build a boat. My doctor told me I shouldn't work out until I'm in better shape. I told him, all right, don't send me a bill until I pay you. Real life? Well, I just hope mine isn't investigated. They might find that I don't really exist, that I'm just a hologram. I've always had to conquer fear when I'm on stage. Basically, I was and still am a very shy person. It's absolutely in conflict with what I do. But once I deliver the first joke, I'm okay. It's like I'm out there all by myself just delivering my lines to nobody in particular without ever trying to notice the audience in front of me. If you had 1,000,000 Shakespeares, could they write like a monkey? I was always making my friends laugh, but I never wanted the attention of the whole classroom. If you were going to shoot a mime, would you use a silencer? I hooked up my accelerator pedal in my car to my brake lights. I hit the gas, people behind me stop, and I'm gone. I replaced the headlights in my car with strobe lights, so it looks like I'm the only one moving. I never even thought of myself as deadpan until someone wrote an article about me about a year after I was doing comedy. There was a paper called the Boston Phoenix, and someone wrote a description of what I was doing, and that's where I first saw deadpan. You know those things that you throw the twigs into and it spits them out? That's what I do. The branches are like life, and I throw them into my head and some of it comes out as humor. I have an existential map. It has, "You are here," written all over it. Be nice to your children. After all, they are going to choose your nursing home. I play the harmonica. The only way I can play is if I get my car going really fast, and stick it out the window. I watched the Indy 500, and I was thinking that if they left earlier they wouldn't have to go so fast. If you tell a joke in the forest, but nobody laughs, was it a joke? I went to a general store, but they wouldn't let me buy anything specific. I have an answering machine in my car. It says, "I'm home now. But leave a message and I'll call when I'm out." Cross-country skiing is great if you live in a small country. I was a peripheral visionary. I could see the future, but only way off to the side. Right now I'm having amnesia and déjà vu at the same time. Ever notice how irons have a setting for permanent press? I don't get it. It doesn't make a difference what temperature a room is, it's always room temperature. I drive way too fast to worry about cholesterol. My friend has a baby. I'm recording all the noises he makes so later I can ask him what he meant. When I was 16, I worked in a pet store. And they fired me because they had 3 snakes in there, and one day I braided them. What I like about the jokes, to me it's a lot of logic, no matter how crazy they are. It has to make absolute sense, or it won't be funny. The Bermuda Triangle got tired of warm weather. It moved to Alaska. Now Santa Claus is missing. You can't have everything. Where would you put it? I busted a mirror and got 7 years bad luck, but my lawyer thinks he can get me 5. I kept a diary right after I was born. Day 1, tired from the move. Day 2, everyone thinks I'm an idiot. I was trying to daydream, but my mind kept wandering. They say the universe is expanding. That should help with the traffic. I was walking down the street wearing glasses when the prescription ran out. If I ever had twins, I'd use one for parts. I don't feel that I'm explaining the world or teaching people anything. And I'm not trying to be a mirror, showing them what's really going on in the world. All I'm trying to do is think of stuff that's funny, just like when I'm kidding around with my friends. I went to a restaurant that serves breakfast at any time. So I ordered French toast during the Renaissance. Babies don't need a vacation, but I still see them at the beach. It pisses me off. I'll go over to a little baby and say, "What are you doing here? You haven't worked a day in your life." I'm seeing the world partially through the eyes of a kid. Not all the time. There's no black and white to it. But sometimes I'm seeing it like I'm 4. I have 2 pairs of reading glasses. One pair is for reading fiction, the other for non-fiction. I've read the Bible twice wearing each pair, and it's the same. I intend to live forever. So far, so good. I had a friend who was a clown. When he died, all his friends went to the funeral in one car. I installed a skylight in my apartment. The people who live above me are furious. I used to work in a fire hydrant factory. You couldn't park anywhere near the place. I'm writing a book. I've got the page numbers done. Last night I stayed up late playing poker with tarot cards. I got a full house and 4 people died. I don't go off and sit down and try to write material, because then it's contrived and forced. I just live my life, and I see things in a word or a situation or a concept, and it will create a joke for me. Honestly, I just go to restaurants to eat so I won't die. If there was a pill I could take in January and then I wouldn't have to eat again for the rest of the year, I would take it. Of course, I wouldn't want to sacrifice my chocolate cake and ice cream. Good jokes are gems. A good idea is hard to come by. I couldn't give them to someone else, even for money. It just wouldn't seem right. If it's a penny for your thoughts and you put in your 2 cents worth, then someone, somewhere is making a penny. I need one of those baby monitors from my subconscious to my consciousness so I can know what the hell I'm really thinking about. When I'm on stage, it's really intense. My mind is going 1,000,000 miles an hour, trying to remember my act, trying to say it all the right way. It's funny how different it looks and how it's happening. There are 3 Fellini circuses in my head, and outwardly it looks like I'm going to get a bagel. I bought some batteries, but they weren't included. I'm going to get an MRI to find out whether I have claustrophobia. A clear conscience is usually the sign of a bad memory. George is a radio announcer, and when he walks under a bridge, you can't hear him talk. It's a small world, but I wouldn't want to have to paint it. How young can you die of old age? If you are in a spaceship that is traveling at the speed of light, and you turn on the headlights, does anything happen? I was reading the dictionary. I thought it was a poem about everything. I didn't tell any of my friends that I wanted to be a comedian, because I was superstitious. I thought if I told people, it wouldn't happen. So I kept it all in my head for years and years. One day a guy tried to rob me on the street, and I had no money. So I charged him. I've been doing comedy longer than I haven't been doing comedy, as I was performing for 3 years before I even got on The Tonight Show. There's truly nothing like it. It's intense and exhilarating, even though it looks so casual. When I die, I'm gonna leave my body to science fiction. It's like the Wild West, the internet. There are no rules. Is it weird in here, or is it just me? If God dropped acid, would he see people? Don't you hate when your hand falls asleep and you know it will be up all night? My act is an exaggeration of a part of me. I'm much more expressive off stage. I don't like politicians, and I don't like politics. I definitely don't want to be associated with any of them. I feel very lucky to make a living from my imagination. I'm very grateful for that. I like that what I do is create. I'm feeling very lucky to have had the career I had. It's gone much longer and bigger than I ever thought it would be. When I die, I'm leaving my body to science fiction. I had some eyeglasses. I was walking down the street when suddenly the prescription ran out. Do you think that when they asked George Washington for ID that he just whipped out a quarter? I stayed in a really old hotel last night. They sent me a wake-up letter. At one point he decided enough was enough. In Vegas, I got into a long argument with the man at the roulette wheel over what I considered to be an odd number. There was a power outage at a department store yesterday. 20 people were trapped on the escalators. I got this powdered water, now I don't know what to add. Last year I went fishing with Salvador Dali. He was using a dotted line. He caught every other fish. Doing stand-up is like running across a frozen pond with the ice breaking behind you. I love it because it's dangerous. I have all the emotions that everyone has, it just appears that I don't. I laugh all the time, at things, people, stuff, whatever. But, I don't laugh on stage because then it's serious business. I don't get up, get dressed, go out, and think, okay, I gotta find 8 jokes. I have the world's largest collection of seashells. I keep it on all the beaches of the world, perhaps you've seen it. If one synchronized swimmer drowns, do all the rest have to drown too? I poured spot remover on my dog. Now he's gone. Why don't they make the whole plane out of that black box stuff? I went down the street to the 24-hour grocery. When I got there, the guy was locking the front door. I said, "Hey, the sign says you're open 24 hours. He said, "Yes, but not in a row." If you shoot at mimes, should you use a silencer? Experience is something you don't get until just after you need it. I wrote a few children's books, not on purpose. The things I talk about and explain couldn't happen, yet, they don't seem impossible. You could say I talk about the world in an abstract perspective. But then, the world is basically insane, and it's trying to pass itself off as being a sane place. I show it for what it is. To the audience, it's like I'm changing the subject every 5 seconds, but to me, my show's almost like a 90-minute song that I know exactly. I wrote every note, and I know exactly where everything is. If you can't hear me, it's because I'm in parentheses. My neighbor has a circular driveway, he can't get out. I think God's going to come down and pull civilization over for speeding. The other day no, that wasn't me. I'm used to seeing it, but it's weird having an Academy Award. You usually only see one of them on the TV show when they give them out, so it's kind of surreal to have one in your house. Childhood was very nice. The only thing wrong was that I was so introverted, everything became a big deal. Oh, no, here comes the bus. Where am I gonna sit on the bus? When I was on TV in the 80s, I wasn't thinking, there's a 10-year-old kid watching this and in 15 years, he's gonna be doing stuff that was influenced by me. I was trying to get my 5 minutes together. So now that those people are comedians and they're influenced by me, it's bizarre. I met this wonderful girl at Macy's. She was buying clothes and I was putting Slinkies on the escalator. I went to a general store. They wouldn't let me buy anything specifically. When I was a kid, I never did funny things to get attention. I was never a funny person. I was never, like, oh, wow. I could say this someday on stage. My roommate got a pet elephant. Then it got lost. It's in the apartment somewhere. When I was a kid, I went to the store and asked the guy, "Do you have any toy train schedules?" I like George Carlin's jokes. I like his humor. He's one of my heroes, and I like what he did with talking about everyday things. I just have a relationship with my imagination. It's like my friend, almost. I didn't want to be selling insurance at 40, wondering what would it have been like to do stand-up. I got a chain letter by fax. It's very simple. You just fax a dollar bill to everybody on the list. I like to talk about lint and coasters, the expansion of the universe and maybe McDonald's. I'm completely turned off by the idea of politics. To me, comedy is just twisting reality. It's commenting or observing or twisting life. I feel lucky that I can have people laugh solidly for a whole hour by just saying what I think and getting paid for it. Very rarely do I talk off the top of my head on stage. I'm not an improv guy. I'm a writer guy who presents what he's written. I haven't changed at all. I'm the same as when I was 11. I thought I would be a guy on the radio. I was born. When I was 23, I started telling jokes. Then I started going on television and doing films. That's still what I am doing. The end. Like other kids wanted to become firemen or astronauts, I wanted to make people laugh. Comedians are sociologists. We're pointing out stuff that the general public doesn't even stop to think about, looking at life in slow motion and questioning everything we see. It's very intense to be in front of a live audience. It's just an amazing experience. It's dangerous. Everything out there is heightened. The bad stuff is extra worse. The silences are extra silent. The good stuff is amazing. It's electric when you walk out there. For 90 minutes, you're on this other planet. I've been thinking of humorous things since I can't remember when. All the way through elementary school, all the way through junior high, all the way through high school, through college and after college. I was thinking of the same kinds of things that I say in front of an audience now. George Carlin's album, Class Clown, came out when I was in high school. I memorized a lot of that album. I'd come home from school, put it on, and listen over and over. I started memorizing it. I don't even know why. I loved it so much I memorized it. I paint, I draw and paint. I've been doing that since I was in 3rd grade, drawing realistically and then changing to abstract art. That was my first creative thing before guitar or comedy. I always thought Johnny Carson was just brilliant, and I used to watch him and all the comics that would be on the show every night, and I'd dream about it being me. Imagine how weird phones would look if your mouth was nowhere near your ears. We have run the hydro system harder than it was supposed to be run this year. My friend has a baby. I'm writing down all the noises the baby makes so later I can ask him what he meant. I was at this restaurant. The sign said breakfast anytime. So I ordered French toast in the Renaissance. I bought an occasional table, sometimes it's a microwave oven. I felt I could have got him out. Coach made a good decision because we ended up getting him out anyway. It didn't look like they were comfortable. Coach K and Esteban worked it in and out today, so, WIU, didn't know what was coming, so they didn't get any good swings. I was cesarean born. You can't really tell, although whenever I leave a house, I go out through a window. It happens so fast, and I've been doing it so long that it's unconscious. I think that was our best defensive game of the year. I was just getting too ahead of myself. I was rushing. Our modeling suggests bond yields should rise in line with the U.S. by at least 1%. The X factor remains any flow-on effect from petrol prices. Sponges grow in the ocean. This bothers me. How deep would it be if they didn't? The past week our bullpen threw a lot, especially with the doubleheaders in the Rainbow Tournament, and we have 5 games this weekend. So I figure if I can finish the game off, I can give them a little rest so they can go out and get the next 4 games. I spilled spot remover on my dog. Now he's gone. I've wanted to do it since I was 14 years old, from watching The Tonight Show, watching Johnny, Carson, and the other comedians. Something clicked in me that I wanted to be one of those guys, someone who came out and made the audience laugh. The statue is permanently out of place in my house. Some people are afraid of heights. Not me, I'm afraid of widths. Attacks on people who are bad at math. It's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. It's a big deal for us. We have over 200 people registered. They're coming from all over the United States. We have people coming from Canada, Bermuda. I've known Ian for a while. It's not about beating the best pitcher. He's still my buddy. I'll probably hang out with him tonight. It's just another game to me. I haven't done a film in about 5 years and I want to do more. It's not a matter of expense, because budgets are low, it's the problem of not having a really good idea. In terms of visits, we're probably going to wind up 3 to 5% ahead in visits and probably double that in revenue. When I was in school, the teachers told me practice makes perfect, then they told me nobody's perfect, so I stopped practicing. Do radioactive cats have 18 half-lives? My school colors were clear. We used to say, "I'm not naked, I'm in the band." When I was a fetus, I used to sneak out at night when my mother was sleeping. I figured I should start stealing stuff while I still had no fingerprints. I wish, when I was first born, the first thing I said was quote, so the last thing I said before I died would be unquote. I'm addicted to placebos. I took a course in speed reading. Then I got Reader's Digest on microfilm. By the time I got the machine set up, I was done. After eating, do amphibians need to wait an hour before getting out of the water? I got my driver's license photo taken out of focus on purpose. Now when I get pulled over, the cop looks at it, moving it nearer and farther, trying to see it clearly, and says, "Here, you can go." 43.7% of all statistics are made up on the spot. I was hitchhiking the other day and a hearse stopped. I said, "No thanks, I'm not going that far." I'm writing an unauthorized autobiography. I went to the fights, and a hockey game broke out. I went to a garage sale. How much for the garage? It's not for sale. I went to the hardware store and bought some used paint. It was in the shape of a house. For a while I didn't have a car. I had a helicopter. No place to park it, so I just tied it to a lamp post and left it running. Slow glance upward. I am writing a book. So far I have the pages numbered. Black holes result from God dividing the universe by zero. A friend of mine is into voodoo acupuncture. You don't have to go. You'll just be walking down the street and, ooh, that's much better. I bought a self-learning record to learn Spanish. I turned it on and went to sleep. The record got stuck. The next day I could only stutter in Spanish. Last night I fell asleep in a satellite dish. My dreams were broadcast all over the world. I spent all my money on a fax machine. Now I can only fax collect. I got an answering machine for my phone. Now, when I'm not home and somebody calls me up, they hear a recording of a busy signal. I put a new engine in my car, but forgot to take the old one out. Now my car goes 500 miles per hour. The harmonica sounds amazing. I went for a walk last night and she asked me how long I was going to be gone. I said, the whole time. You know how it is when you're reading a book and falling asleep, you're reading, and all of a sudden you notice your eyes are closed. I'm like that all the time. If toast always lands butter side down, and cats always land on their feet, what happens if you strap toast on the back of a cat and drop it? When I have a kid, I want to buy one of those strollers for twins. Then put the kid in and run around, looking frantic. When he gets older, I'd tell him he used to have a brother, but he didn't obey. I worked in a health food store once. A guy asked me, if I melt dry ice, can I take a bath without getting wet? I'd kill for a Nobel Peace Prize. I just got lost in thought. It was unfamiliar territory. Imagine Pulitzer Prize fighting. You know, the New Testament is pretty old. I think they should call them the Old Testament and the most recent Testament. Sometimes I talk to myself in languages I'm unfamiliar with, just to screw with my subconscious. Laughing stock, cattle with a sense of humor. The doctor says he has to amputate all of me. So I got off the plane and I forget to take off my seatbelt and I'm dragging the plane through the terminal. The wings are knocking people over. The sun got confused about daylight savings time. It rose twice. Everything had two shadows. A metaphor is like a simile. I heard that in relativity theory, space and time are the same thing. Einstein discovered this when he kept showing up 3 miles late for his meetings. I was in a grocery store. I saw a sign that said, pet supplies. So I did. Then I went outside and saw a sign that said, compact cars. I have a map of the United States. Actual size. It says, scale, 1 mile equals 1 mile. I spent last summer folding it. I hardly ever unroll it. People ask me where I live, and I say, E6. What do little birdies see when they get knocked unconscious? Imagine Oshkosh straitjackets for little insane children. Always try to be modest, and be proud of it. If everything seems to be going well, you have obviously overlooked something. I'm a peripheral visionary. I bought some powdered water, but I don't know what to add. I Xeroxed a mirror. Now I have an extra Xerox machine. Last week I forgot how to ride a bicycle. Yesterday, my eyeglass prescription ran out. Does fuzzy logic tickle? Is it possible to be totally partial? If you are sending someone some styrofoam, what do you pack it in? Do Roman paramedics refer to IVs as fours? Is tired old cliché one? Why are they called buildings when they're already finished? Shouldn't they be called builts? In school, every period ends with a bell. Every sentence ends with a period. Every crime ends with a sentence. The sign said 8 items or less. So I changed my name to Les. I bought 1,000,000 lottery tickets. I won $1. I don't like the sound of my phone ringing, so I put my phone inside my fish tank. I can't hear it, but every time I get a call I see the fish go like this. I got a dog and named him Stay. Now, I go, come here, stay. After a while, the dog went insane and wouldn't move at all. A beautiful woman moved in next door. So I went over and returned a cup of sugar. She said, "You didn't borrow this." I said, "I will." I rented a lottery ticket. I won $1,000,000. But I had to give it back. I was in the first submarine. Instead of a periscope, they had a kaleidoscope. We're surrounded. The colder the X-ray table, the more of your body is required to be on it. The severity of the itch is proportional to the reach. What's another word for thesaurus? I have a quantum car. Every time I look at the speedometer I get lost. I can't stop thinking like this. Referring to a glass of water, I mixed this myself. 2 parts H, 1 part O. I don't trust anybody. Do married people live longer than single people, or does it just seem longer? 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name. Did you sleep well? No, I made a couple of mistakes. I had amnesia once or twice. Why is the third hand on a watch called a second hand? Why doesn't the fattest man in the world become a hockey goalie? Shin, a device for finding furniture in the dark. 2 babies were born on the same day at the same hospital. They lay there and looked at each other. Their families came and took them away. 80 years later, by a bizarre coincidence, they lay in the same hospital, on their deathbeds, next to each other. One of them looked at the other and said, "So, what did you think?" If it's 0 degrees outside today and it's supposed to be twice as cold tomorrow, how cold is it going to be? Because I don't believe everything I read. If a mute kid swears, should his mother wash his hands with soap? I was in the supermarket the other day, and I met a lady in the aisle where they keep the generic brands. Her name was Woman. Can you buy an entire chess set in a pawn shop? I don't have to walk my dog anymore. I walked him all at once. I got a new shadow. I had to get rid of the other one, it wasn't doing what I was doing. Why are there interstate highways in Hawaii? If you are killing time, are you damaging eternity? I'm a psychic amnesiac. I know in advance what I'll forget. I'm so tired. I was up all night trying to round off infinity. You know when you're sitting on a chair and you lean back so you're just on 2 legs and you lean too far so you almost fall over, but at the last second you catch yourself? I feel like that all the time. If you got into a taxi and the driver started driving backward, would the taxi driver end up owing you money? I washed a sock. Then I put it in the dryer. When I took it out, it was gone. Always remember you're unique, just like everyone else. I had a dream that all the babies prevented by the pill showed up. They were mad. If Dracula can't see his reflection in a mirror, how come his hair is always so neatly combed? You know how it is when you go to be the subject of a psychology experiment and nobody else shows up and you think maybe that's part of the experiment. I'm like that all the time. When I get real bored, I like to drive downtown and get a great parking spot, then sit in my car and count how many people ask if I'm leaving. Why are they called apartments, when they're all stuck together? I got food poisoning today. I don't know when I'll use it. I got a garage door opener. It can't close. Just open. My grandfather gave me a watch. It doesn't have any hands or numbers. He says it's very accurate. I asked him what time it was. You can guess what he told me. I finally got around to reading the dictionary. Turns out the zebra did it. Why do we put suits in a garment bag and put garments in a suitcase? How do you tell when you're out of invisible ink? If man evolved from monkeys and apes, why do we still have monkeys and apes? I went to San Francisco. I found someone's heart. I can picture in my mind a world without war, a world without hate. And I can picture us attacking that world, because they'd never expect it. Why is the alphabet in that order? Is it because of that song? When I erase a word with a pencil, where does it go? Why is it lemon juice contains mostly artificial ingredients but dishwashing liquid contains real lemons? Why is it, when a door is open it's ajar, but when a jar is open, it's not a door? How can there be self-help groups? Why do scientists call it research when looking for something new? My nephew has ADHD, high definition attention deficit disorder. He can barely pay attention, but when he does it's unbelievably clear. Do the people in Australia call the rest of the world up over? If you melt dry ice in a pool and go swimming, will you get wet? I took a baby shower. I washed mud off of mud. I saw a tree fall in the woods, and I didn't hear it. I was watching the Super Bowl with my 92-year-old grandfather. The team scored a touchdown. They showed the instant replay. He thought they scored another one. I was gonna tell him, but I figured the game he was watching was better. I'm kinda tired. I was up all night trying to round off infinity. Then I got bored and went out and painted passing lines on curved roads. When I was 5 years old I was on a merry-go-round. There was a gunshot nearby. The horses stampeded. There I was running down the street on a purple wooden horse. Tinsel is really snakes' mirrors. I put hardwood floors on top of wall-to-wall carpet. It's a fine night to have an evening. Winnie would spend all of his time practicing limbo. He got pretty good. He could go under a rug. One day, when I came home from work, I accidentally put my car key in the door of my apartment building. I turned it, and the whole building started up. So I drove it around. A policeman stopped me for going too fast. He said, "Where do you live?" I said, "Right here." Then I drove my building onto the middle of a highway, and I ran outside, and told all of the cars to get the hell out of my driveway. People think my friend George is weird because he wears sideburns behind his ears. I think he's weird because he wears false teeth with braces on them. Ever wonder what the speed of lightning would be if it didn't zigzag? Clones are people too. I saw a vegetarian wearing a furry coat. So I looked closer. It was made of grass. I used to work at a health food store. I got fired for drinking straight Bosco on the job. I used to be an airline pilot. I got fired because I kept locking the keys in the plane. They caught me on an 80-foot stepladder with a coat hanger. I'd like to sing you a song now about my old girlfriend. It's called "They'll Find Her When the Leaves Blow Away, 'Cause I'm not raking till spring." For years ago, no, it was yesterday. They say we're 98% water. We're that close to drowning. I like to live on the edge. I was going to tape some records onto a cassette, but I got the wires backwards. I erased all of the records. When I returned them to my friend, he said, "Hey, these records are all blank." I went camping and borrowed a circus tent by mistake. I didn't notice until I got it set up. People complained because they couldn't see the lake. I had my coat hangers spayed. The sky is falling. No, I'm tipping over backwards. I went to the hardware store to buy some batteries, but they weren't included, so I had to buy them again. The other night I came home late, and tried to unlock my house with my car keys. I started the house up. So, I drove it around for a while. I was speeding, and a cop pulled me over. He asked where I lived. I said, "Right here, officer." I was skydiving horizontally. I have a fax machine with fax waiting. My father was a small claims court jester. I was once arrested for resisting arrest. The speed of time is 1 second per second. If lawyers are disbarred and clergymen defrocked, doesn't it follow that electricians can be delighted, musicians denoted, cowboys deranged, models deposed, tree surgeons debarked, and dry cleaners depressed? Why isn't the number 11 pronounced oneti one? If you take an Oriental person and spin him around several times, does he become disoriented? Having sex with her is incredible. It's just like a concert. We throw frisbees around the room. And when she wants more, she lights a match. My socks do match. They're the same thickness. I have a map of the United States. Its original size, it says 1 mile equals 1 mile. I moved into an all-electric house. I forgot and left the porch light on all day. When I got home, the front door wouldn't open. I eat Swiss cheese. But I only nibble on it. I make the holes bigger. When I was in Boy Scouts, I slipped on the ice and hurt my ankle. A little old lady had to help me across the street. The sky already fell. Now what? How many people does it take to change a searchlight bulb? I brought a mirror to Lover's Lane. I told everybody I'm Narcissus. The sun never sets on the British Empire. But it rises every morning. The sky must get awfully crowded. My friend Sam has one leg. I went to his house. I couldn't go up the stairs. I eat Swiss cheese from the inside out. If all those psychics know the winning lottery numbers, why are they all still working? I'm not naked, I'm in the band. When I was a kid, I had a friend who worked in a radio station. Whenever we walked under a bridge, you couldn't hear what he said. I saw a close friend of mine the other day. He said, "Stephen, why haven't you called me?" I said, "I can't call everyone I want. My new phone has no 5 on it." He said, "How long have you had it?" I said, "I don't know. My calendar has no 7s on it." I went to this restaurant last night that was set up like a big buffet in the shape of an Ouija board. You'd think about what kind of food you want, and the table would move across the floor to it. I parked in the tow-away zone, and when I got back, the entire neighborhood was gone. Babies don't need a vacation. But I still see them at the beach. It pisses me off. I took a course in speed waiting. Now I can wait an hour in only 10 minutes. Everything is within walking distance, as long as you have time. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to see it, do the other trees make fun of it? I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of widths. I once tried to commit suicide by jumping off a building. I changed my mind at the last minute, so I just flipped over and landed on my feet. Two little kittens nearby saw what happened and one turns to the other and says, "See, that's how it's done." If you shoot a mime, do you need to use a silencer? Day 1, still tired from the move. My friend Winnie is a procrastinator. He didn't get his birthmark till he was 8 years old. I'm moving to Mars next week, so if you have any boxes. Even snakes are afraid of snakes. Your Honor, why would anyone in their right mind park in the passing lane? Day 1, still tired from the move. Day 2, everybody talks to me like I'm an idiot. I saw a want ad. Light housekeeping. They said here, change this bulb. I said I'll need some friends. Drugs may lead to nowhere, but at least it's the scenic route. I Xeroxed my watch. Now I have time to spare. A conscience is what hurts when all your other parts feel so good. I lost a buttonhole. Why do they call it the Department of Interior when they are in charge of everything outdoors? I told her I knew when I was going to die because my birth certificate had an expiration date on it. If I melt dry ice, can I swim without getting wet? I used to be a narrator for bad mimes. I saw a small bottle of cologne and asked if it was for sale. She said, "It's free with purchase." I asked her if anyone bought anything Toda. My girlfriend's weird. One day she asked me, if you could know how and when you were going to die, would you want to know? I said, no. She said, okay, forget it. I went to a 7-Eleven and asked for a 2x4 and a box of 3x5s. The clerk said, 10-4. I like to go to art museums and name the untitled paintings. Boy with pail. Kitten on fire. Half the people you know are below average. I live at the end of a dead-end one-way street. I don't know how I got there. Yesterday I saw a chicken crossing the road. I asked it why. It told me it was none of my business. I couldn't find the remote control to the remote control. I plugged my phone in where the blender used to be. I called someone. They went ayaha. Today I dialed a wrong number. The other person said, hello. And I said, hello, could I speak to Joey? They said, I don't think so, he's only 2 months old. I said, I'll wait. Why do banks charge you a non-sufficient funds fee on money they already know you don't have? I was an only child, eventually. In my house on the ceilings I have paintings of the rooms above, so I never have to go upstairs. A fool and his money are soon partying. I used to have an open mind, but my brains kept falling out. There's a pizza place near where I live that sells only slices. In the back, you can see a guy tossing a triangle in the air. My girlfriend does her nails with whiteout. When she's asleep, I go over there and write misspelled words on them. Doing a little work around the house. I put fake brick wallpaper over a real brick wall, just so I'd be the only one who knew. People come over and I'm gonna say, go ahead, touch it, it feels real. I was born by cesarean section. But not so you'd notice. It's just that when I leave a house, I go out through the window. The hardness of the butter is proportional to the softness of the bread. Yeah, but I don't believe everything I read. The other day when I was walking through the woods, I saw a rabbit standing in front of a candle making shadows of people on a tree. 5 out of 4 people have trouble with fractions. Whatever happened to preparations A through G? I saw a sign, rest area 25 miles. That's pretty big. Some people must be really tired. A cop stopped me for speeding. He said, "Why were you going so fast?" I said, "See this thing my foot is on? It's called an accelerator. When you push down on it, it sends more gas to the engine. The whole car just takes right off. And see this thing, my steering wheel. This steers it. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I wear my liver on my pant leg." How come you don't ever hear about grunt-led employees? And who has been disengaged them anyhow? Yesterday I parked my car in a tow-away zone. When I came back the entire area was missing. I had just received my degree in calcium anthropology, the study of milkmen. The other day, I was walking my dog around my building. On the ledge. Some people are afraid of heights. Not me, I'm afraid of widths. I took my dog for a walk, all the way from New York to Florida. I said to him, "There, now you're done." I collect rare photographs. I have 2. One of Houdini locking his keys in his car. The other is a rare picture of Norman Rockwell beating up a child. I bought an ant farm. I don't know where I am going to get a tractor that small. Why do we wait until a pig is dead to cure it? Why do they sterilize needles for lethal injections? I wrote a song, but I can't read music so I don't know what it is. Every once in a while I'll be listening to the radio and I say, I think I might have written that. In hindsight, I realized I could see into the future. Which is kind of like having premonitions of flashbacks. Why do psychics have to ask you for your name? I'm so hyper. Said with a very dull voice. The other day no wait, that wasn't me. In my house there's this light switch that doesn't do anything. Every so often, I would flick it on and off just to check. Yesterday, I got a call from a woman in Germany. She said, cut it out. When I was 10, my pa told me never to talk to strangers. We haven't spoken since. Winnie and I lived in a house that ran on static electricity. If you wanted to run the blender, you had to rub balloons on your head. If you wanted to cook, you had to pull off a sweater real quick. I turned my air conditioner the other way around and it got cold out. The weatherman said, I don't understand it. It was supposed to be 80 degrees out today. I said, oops. My house is made out of balsa wood, so when I want to scare the neighborhood kids I lift it over my head and tell them to get out of my yard or I'll throw it at them. What do batteries run on? Do you have any toy train schedules? One time the power went out in my house and I had to use the flash on my camera to see my way around. I made a sandwich and took 50 pictures of my face. The neighbors thought there was lightning in my house. If your car could travel at the speed of light, would your headlights work? I've never seen electricity, that's why I don't pay for it. The other day I went to a tourist information booth and asked, tell me about some of the people who were here last year. I hate it when my leg falls asleep. I know that means it's going to be up all night. I changed my headlights the other day. I put in strobe lights instead. Now when I drive at night, it looks like everyone else is standing still. Sorry, my mind was wandering. One time it went all the way to Venus and ordered a meal I couldn't pay for. Isn't Disney World a people trap operated by a mouse? The Stones, I love the Stones. I watch them whenever I can. Fred, Barney. Do fish get cramps after eating? I invented the cordless extension cord. I made a chocolate cake with white chocolate. Then I took it to a potluck. I stood in line for some cake. They said, do you want white cake or chocolate cake? I said, yes. Why is a carrot more orange than an orange? How do you get off a non-stop flight? I woke up one morning, and all of my stuff had been stolen and replaced by exact duplicates. Everyone has a photographic memory, some just don't have film. You know how it is when you're walking up the stairs, and you get to the top, and you think there's one more step. I'm like that all the time. What a nice night for an evening. Why isn't the word, phonetically, spelled with an F? A friend of mine once sent me a postcard with a picture of the entire planet Earth taken from space. On the back it said, "Wish you were here." I bought my brother some gift wrap for Christmas. I took it to the gift wrap department and told them to wrap it, but in a different print so he would know when to stop unwrapping. I planted some bird seed. A bird came up. Now I don't know what to feed it. If the universe is everything, and scientists say that the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? Nobody can really compare a relationship in which the victim is 15 years old to one where she's 6. While both criminal, they're very different circumstances. My aunt gave me a walkie-talkie for my birthday. She says if I'm good, she'll give me the other one next year. The best kind of friend is the kind you sit with, never say a word and walk away feeling like it was the best conversation you ever had. I broke my arm trying to fold a bed. It wasn't the kind that folds. Smoking cures weight problems, eventually. Monday is an awful way to spend 17 of your life. Eagles may soar, but weasels don't get sucked into jet engines. I was in a job interview and I opened a book and started reading. Then I said to the guy, "Let me ask you a question. If you are in a spaceship that is traveling at the speed of light, and you turn on the headlights, does anything happen?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't want your job." All of the people in my building are insane. The guy above me designed synthetic herbals for ceramic cats. Why do they put pictures of criminals up in the post office? What are we supposed to do, write to them? Why don't they just put their pictures on the postage stamp so the postman can look for them while they deliver the mail? All the plants in my house are dead. I shot them last night. I was teasing them by watering them with ice cubes. I took a lie detector test the other day. No, I didn't. Why, in a country of free speech, are there phone bills? Last year we drove across the country. We had one cassette tape to listen to on the entire trip. I don't remember what it was. If you must choose between two evils, pick the one you've never tried before. Okay, so what's the speed of dark? I couldn't repair your brakes, so I made your horn louder. Why are there 5 syllables in the word monosyllabic? It's a good thing we have gravity, or else when birds die they just stay right up there. Hunters would be all confused. Some friends of mine got me a sweater for my birthday. I'd have preferred a moaner or a screamer, but the sweater was okay. Imagine if birds were tickled by feathers. You'd see a flock of birds come by, laughing hysterically. Why don't they just make mouse-flavored cat food? Is boneless chicken considered to be an invertebrate? Should you trust a stockbroker who's married to a travel agent? Yesterday I told a chicken to cross the road. It said, "What for?" I was sad because I had no shoes, until I met a man who had no feet. So I said, "Got any shoes you're not using?" No one is listening until you make a mistake. What happens if you get scared half to death twice? Officer, I know I was going faster than 55 miles per hour, but I wasn't going to be on the road an hour. Why do we wash bath towels? Aren't we clean when we use them? The early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. My dental hygienist is cute. Every time I visit, I eat a whole package of Oreo cookies while waiting in the lobby. Sometimes she has to cancel the rest of the afternoon's appointments. Hermits have no peer pressure. I have a paper cut from writing my suicide note. It's a start. If a cow laughed, would milk come out her nose? Isn't the best way to save face to keep the lower part shut? I used to own an ant farm but had to give it up. I couldn't find tractors small enough to fit it. I tried to hang myself with a bungee cord. I kept almost dying. Plan to be spontaneous tomorrow. If vegetarians eat vegetables, what do humanitarians eat? For my sister's 50th birthday, I sent her a singing mammogram. I was once walking through the forest alone. A tree fell right in front of me and I didn't hear it. How come abbreviated is such a long word? Why doesn't Tarzan have a beard? Why doesn't glue stick to the inside of the bottle? I was thinking that women should put pictures of missing husbands on beer cans. How come Superman could stop bullets with his chest, but always ducked when someone threw a gun at him? Why buy a product that it takes 2,000 flushes to get rid of? Tell a man that there are 400 billion stars and he'll believe you. Tell him a bench has wet paint and he has to touch it. My friend Sally is a nudist. I went to her house. The closets have no doors. The walls are covered with see-through wallpaper. Snakes have no arms. That's why they don't wear vests. I bought a dog the other day. I named him Stay. It's fun to call him. Come here, Stay. Come here, Stay. He went insane. Now he just ignores me and keeps typing. Right now I'm having amnesia and déjà vu at the same time. I think I've forgotten this before. Why do you press harder on a remote control when you know the battery's dead? You never really learn to swear until you learn to drive. Sometimes No, I don't. If heat rises, then heaven must be hotter than hell. I like to skate on the other side of the ice. Why is a person who plays the piano called a pianist but a person who drives a racing car not called a racist? To steal ideas from one person is plagiarism, to steal from many is research. Last night I played a blank tape at full blast. The mime next door went nuts. The lady across the hall tried to rob a department store. With a pricing gun. She said, "Give me all of the money in the vault, or I'm marking down everything in the store." Support bacteria, they're the only culture some people have. I named my dog Stay, so I can say, "Come here, Stay. Come here, Stay." Last night somebody broke into my apartment and replaced everything with exact duplicates. When I pointed it out to my roommate, he said, "Do I know you?" I wish the first word I ever said was the word quote, so right before I die I could say unquote. I like to fill my tub up with water, then turn the shower on and act like I'm in a submarine that's been hit. I put contact lenses in my dog's eyes. They had little pictures of cats on them. Then I took one out and he ran around in circles. While I was gone, somebody rearranged on the furniture in my bedroom. They put it in exactly the same place it was. When I told my roommate, he said, "Do I know you?" When I turned 2, I was really anxious, because I'd doubled my age in a year. I thought, if this keeps up, by the time I'm 6 I'll be 90. Consciousness, that annoying time between naps. Do Lipton employees take coffee breaks? When everything's coming your way, you're in the wrong lane. How much deeper would the ocean be if sponges didn't live there? Is it true that cannibals don't eat clowns because they taste funny? I'm addicted to placebos. I could quit, but it wouldn't matter. I have a large seashell collection which I keep scattered on beaches all over the world. Maybe you've seen it. I forgot and left the lighthouse on all night. Next day the sun wouldn't rise. Whose cruel idea was it for the word lisp to have an S in it? I almost had a psychic girlfriend, but she left me before we met. I just got this new camera. It's very advanced, you don't even need it. I saw a man with a wooden leg and a real foot. What would a chair look like if your knees bent the other way? I bought a house on a one-way dead-end road. I don't know how I got there. The other night I was lying in bed, looking up at the stars, and I wondered, where the hell is my roof? I got a new dog. He's a paranoid retriever. He brings back everything because he's not sure what I threw him. I put tape on the mirrors in my house so I don't accidentally walk through into another dimension. One time a cop pulled me over for running a stop sign. He said, "Didn't you see the stop sign?" I said, "Yeah, but I don't believe everything I read." I just lost a buttonhole. I once locked my keys out of my car. I had to break out of my car with a coat hanger. Depression is merely anger without enthusiasm. The older you get, the more you learn to see what you've been taught to see. When you're a kid, you see what's there. I was arrested for lip-syncing karaoke. If it's tourist season, why can't we shoot them? I bought a cheap piece of land. It was on someone else's property. If a man says something in the woods and there are no women there, is he still wrong? You know what scares me? When you have to be nice to some paranoid schizophrenic, just because she lives in your head. I have an inferiority complex, but it's not a very good one. I saw a sign at a gas station. It said, "Help wanted." There was another sign below it that said, "Self-service." So I hired myself. Then I made myself the boss. I gave myself a raise. I paid myself. Then I quit. What do you do when you see an endangered animal that eats only endangered plants? If at first you don't succeed, destroy all evidence that you tried. I got pulled over by a cop, and he said, Do you know the speed limit here is 55 miles per hour? So I said, oh, that's okay, I'm not going that far. It was the first time I was ever in love, and I learned a lot. Before that I'd never even thought about killing myself. They say you're not supposed to put metal in a microwave oven. They're right. I have not lost my mind, it's backed up on disk somewhere. If people from Poland are called Poles, why aren't people from Holland called Holes?